Right now, we want to turn our attention to California for a preliminary fatal fetish murder case for Michaela Rylaarsdam.
Now, she's accused of second-degree murder for the death of Michael Dale. Investigators say the victim paid Rylaarsdam money to put a bag on his head and then record it for her OnlyFans page. Well, Dale died from the incident. I want to get you into court now for the beginning of this hearing for Rylaarsdam.
Okay, we're here for a preliminary hearing. I did get some media requests. We did have a chambers conference to discuss if anyone had issues with the media requests. It's my understanding this is not an ID case, and therefore there are no objections to the media being present. People?
Correct.
Defense?
It's not an ID case, Your Honor.
Understood, so no objection?
Correct.
Okay, so that's granted, and as I explained, all filming can occur. However, at some point we're going to play some videos which will not be allowed to be shown on camera. So with that said, are there any other motions we need to attend to before we start calling witnesses?
I'd move to exclude witnesses and admonish.
That's granted. Make sure you admonish any of your witnesses not to discuss the case while the preliminary hearing is going on. Mr. Cohen, anything else?
Yes, I ask that Ms. Rylaarsdam not be shackled during the course of this hearing, Your Honor. One, there are the cameras. Two, there's been no showing that she poses a danger. And three, it's a matter of dignity.
Okay, I mean, we're at a preliminary hearing. We're not in front of a jury. It's my understanding that her right arm is free. Is that accurate?
It is.
Okay. However, how is she still shackled? Her feet aren't shackled.
I believe that she does have a waist chain on.
Okay. For today's preliminary hearing, since we're not in front of a jury, I don't think that's going to create any bias. And therefore, since her feet and legs are not shackled and her right arm is free and able to write and communicate, as long as she's not uncomfortable, she's going to go ahead and stay in the state where she's in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Cohen?
No.
People?
Nothing, Your Honor.
First witness.
People called Dr. Deborah Mary.
Okay. All right, Dr. Berry, you face me, raise your right hand. You swear under penalty of perjury that any testimony...
All right, we're going to come back out. We understand there was an issue finding the witness. I just want to comment. I understand the judge's rulings that the shackles are not going to come off for a preliminary hearing where the jury's not present. I'm still a little surprised.
Yeah, it sounds like he just didn't want to take the time.
Yeah.
She's certainly not one of those types of defendants that one would think there would be an issue with her not being shackled in court.
But it's a security
I think they're on her waist
concern.
already, and to take them off for a preliminary hearing where there's no prejudice to the jurors or anything, I think that's where he was at.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just want to say, this is a crazy, crazy case.
Tell us more.
This is about a couple. Two people living together, having 3 kids, having a OnlyFans page that's idyllic family life, but then having a secondary page where there's a sex company where she would rent out strippers, including herself. And this guy rented her out to do some sort of sadomasochism type stuff that went too far. And she was filming it all for her OnlyFans page. It just really, for me, is another sign of the times.
Which the customer wanted.
Yes.
He wanted the act with the saran wrap over the head, and then wanted it filmed and put on the page. It is a sign of the times.
He wanted some of it. The state is claiming he didn't want the bag over the head. Never asked for that specifically. And they're saying the whole thing went too far, should have stopped, she didn't stop it.
And that's why they've charged her.
Right.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting case. All right, we're going to have more from this preliminary hearing in the fatal fetish murder case. Stay with us here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Welcome back, folks. We're in California this afternoon for the preliminary hearing of an OnlyFans model accused of killing a man during a paid encounter.
Michaela Rylaarsdam is charged with second-degree murder after Michael Dale paid her more than $11,000 for a fetish session during which she placed a bag over his head.
The married mom of three eventually called 911 when she realized that Dale wasn't breathing, but the 55-year-old victim later succumbed to his injuries.
Well, let's go back to court. The first witness, Deputy Medical Examiner Dr. Deborah Berry. Again, this is a preliminary hearing.
Thank you for your patience. We'll start out by stating and spelling your full name for the record into the microphone.
It's Deborah Berry, D-E-B-R-A-B-E-R-R-Y.
Dr. Berry, good morning to you.
Morning.
Can you tell us what you do for a living, please?
I'm the Deputy Medical Examiner.
For how long have you been a deputy medical examiner?
About 3 years.
Can you briefly explain what your duties and responsibilities are?
Yes, I perform autopsies to determine the cause and manner of death in cases that fall under our jurisdiction.
Can you describe for us your education and background that qualifies you for this job?
Yes, after getting my undergraduate degree, I obtained a Master's in Science, then went to medical school, got a medical doctorate. Following that, I went to an anatomic and clinical pathology residency program, followed by 2 fellowships, one in neuropathology and one in forensic pathology.
Have you ever testified in court before?
Yes,
Can you estimate for us about how many times?
about 12.
Can you also estimate for us about how many autopsies you've either conducted or assisted with?
Mid-900s, 1980s, something like that.
I want to talk to you about just the autopsy process in general. Can you kind of just walk us through how it works and what you're looking for?
Sure. So it starts with an examination of the body as received. We document signs of medical intervention or scars or identifying body marks or any signs of injury or natural disease. Then we open up the body and do the same thing internally with the organs.
Before you start an autopsy, in cases involving the police, is there any information that you want to know before you start an autopsy from the police?
Yes, prior to an autopsy, we received an investigator report where they tell us kind of the circumstances surrounding the death, what happened immediately prior to it, whether the person was transported to the hospital, things like that. In a officer-involved or police-involved death, the same. We want all the information we can.
How about any pre-existing medical conditions?
That's helpful to know, yes.
And why is that important in your analysis?
It's good to put everything in a context, and it also helps us decide if we have to perform any special procedures in the autopsy. For instance, if the decedent has tuberculosis, we might want to go to an isolation room, things like that.
How about toxicology results? Is that something you also take into consideration?
When we finalize the death certificate, yes.
And during the autopsy process, are blood samples taken for that purpose?
They are, yes.
Does the ME's office have its own toxicology lab, or how does that work?
We do.
In conducting an autopsy, what is the ultimate goal for you?
To determine the cause and manner of death.
When conducting an autopsy, can you tell us who is present? Who are the parties involved with you?
So typically at an autopsy, there's the pathologist, autopsy technicians, we call them forensic autopsy specialists, who help with the procedures and manual performance of the autopsy. We might have law enforcement officers present in cases where there is a concern for foul play. Sometimes the deputy district attorney is present.
What is a witnessing pathologist?
So at this office, in cases of a homicide, we have a witnessing pathologist in the event that the pathologist performing the autopsy can't attend court.
And during the autopsy process, what is the witnessing pathologist's role?
Essentially just to be present in the room, maybe look over at the findings. It depends on how involved I want to be. I'm going to review the report at the end of the day, so.
I want to talk to you about your role in this case. Were you assigned to be the witnessing pathologist in ME case 2023-01316 with a patient by the name of Michael Dale?
Yes,
And was the date of examination April 22nd of 2023?
yes.
Who was the pathologist actually conducting the autopsy that day?
That was Dr. Beth Ann Shaver,
Could you spell that for the record, please?
BETHANNSCHABER.
And now, as the witnessing pathologist for the case, can you sort of walk us through how the autopsy occurred with Dr. Shaver here?
Yes, so I imagine she did exactly what we always do. She doesn't have too much variability there. So she documents all of the medical interventions. She removes that medical debris, things like IV catheters. Then she documents things like identifying body marks or injuries, and the autopsy is performed.
Okay. As a witnessing pathologist, you mentioned before that you routinely obtain information from the police department. Was that done in this case as well?
Yes, a detective was at the autopsy, and Dr. Shaver, I'm sure, discussed the case with them.
And as a part of that discussion, were you shown a series of videos from the defendant or the suspect's cell phone as well?
Prior to Dr. Shaver finalizing the case, I did view videos, yes.
Can you explain to us what a neuropathology consultation is?
Sure. So when the brain is removed at autopsy, it's fresh, so it's kind of soft and hard to evaluate. A neuropathology consult is when we put the brain in formalin, let it fix for about 2 weeks or more, and then someone who has a fellowship that's board certified in neuropathology examines it for in a more detailed way.
Okay. And can you explain for us in what sorts of cases are you looking to get that extra consultation for the brain?
That really depends on the pathologist. I would do it for a seizure case for sure, or sometimes in a homicide, it's just nice to have another set of eyes to confirm that there's nothing, no surprises.
And would that consultation, would it essentially reveal more information about the state of the brain?
It could.
How about in cases involving asphyxiation?
It depends on, again, the pathologist, just what their threshold is.
Was a neuropathology consultation sought and obtained in this case as well?
Yes.
All right. So was Dr. Shaver ultimately able to make some findings based on her examination and autopsy process?
Yes.
Ultimately, did you agree with Dr. Shaver's findings based on your review of the case?
Yes.
Let's talk about those findings, starting with the cause of death. What was the cause of death here?
The cause of death was complications of anoxic ischemic encephalopathy due to resuscitated cardiopulmonary arrest, due to asphyxia, due to plastic bag secured over nose and mouth.
Can you break that down for us, just in plain English?
Essentially, there was a lack of oxygen to the brain because of the plastic wrapping around the head, leading to fatal injury.
How about the manner of death?
Homicide.
Doctor, we talked about earlier about pre-existing medical conditions and health complications. In the report, it notes some pre-existing health complications. How was it that you're able to rule those out as a potential cause of death?
So that's part of what the whole autopsy is intended to do. If we see something like a myocardial infarct to suggest a heart attack, that might change how we interpret everything. But ultimately, especially in the case of asphyxia, it's akin to a gunshot wound where it's an isolated event. The person might have a bunch of chronic disease as well, but that event is what really caused the death.
Last couple questions for you. There were also some toxicology findings, specifically blood alcohol content 0.308 and some trazodone on board as well. Again, how are you able to rule those out as a potential causal factor?
Yeah, exactly the same as with the natural disease, where we have this isolated occurrence, this event, where the decedent was responsive and went unresponsive during this event. So regardless of what the toxicology shows, this was the inciting incident that led to the death.
Thank you, doctor. I have no further questions.
All right, cross-examination.
All right, so according to the medical examiner, cause of death, asphyxia because of that plastic bag over the head. There were some other possibilities, but she kind of ruled them out. We'll have more from the medical examiner. In fact, we'll have our cross-examination when we return.
Also coming up, we're going to hear from the victim's roommate. They were at his place when this happened. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Anna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law.
Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
The matriarch mastermind murder trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, diving deeper into today's defense case, testimony in the trial of Donna Adelson. Catch up on everything you may have missed as our experts weigh in.
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan, tonight at 8, 7 Central, only on Court TV.
You've put
California and the preliminary hearing for defendant Michaela Rylaarsdam. She's the OnlyFans model who's charged with killing a man with saran wrap during a paid encounter in April of 2023.
All right, let's get you back into court now for the cross-examination of the deputy medical examiner, Deborah Berry.
Doctor, now manner of death, homicide.
Right.
What does it mean, homicide?
In forensic medicine, it means the death was caused by another person or the actions of another person.
Does that have to be intentional?
No.
What are other manners of death?
Natural, accident, suicide, and undetermined in this state.
And you determined not to classify this as accidental.
Correct.
And that was in part because of the history that you received based upon what the officers had told you and what they showed you, correct?
Yes.
Did you examine the plastic bag?
I don't believe we did, no.
Were you aware that the plastic bag had numerous perforations in it?
No.
Now, you indicated that, well, at the time, Dr. Shaver, she said that the probable cause of death was asphyxiation, but that she wanted to do a toxicology screening, correct?
Yes, I believe that was the case.
And the toxicology screening was done, correct?
Yes.
And alcohol at a certain level, blood alcohol level, can be fatal, correct?
Yes.
It can cause respiratory failure, correct?
Yes.
Now, the toxicology result came back at the time that he was tested. He had Mr. Dale had a 0.33 blood alcohol level, correct?
In the hospital, yes.
In the hospital, correct?
Yes.
So, you're familiar as a doctor with generally how alcohol works in the system, correct?
Yeah.
When you start ingesting it, it goes in, your alcohol level spikes, and then at some point you start eliminating it, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So is it fair to say that if Mr. Dale had not consumed any alcohol from the time that he went in, that he became unresponsive to the time that he went to the hospital, that his alcohol level may have been higher at the time that the incident happened?
Sure.
It might have been higher than 0.33.
Absolutely.
And typically for most people, 0.40 is considered to be a near fatal or fatal level of alcohol, correct?
Yes, that's a correct guideline.
Now, alcohol is a depressant, correct?
Yes.
And that's what suppresses the fact that you're breathing, correct? It's the depressive accident.
Yes.
He also had trazodone in his system, correct?
Yes.
He had, was it 0.13 nanograms of trazodone?
I think it was 0.17 milligrams per liter.
0.17 milligrams. Now that's a therapeutic level, correct?
I think it's actually subtherapeutic, but yeah, within that range, for sure.
But it's a depressant as well, correct?
Yes.
And that can have a reaction with alcohol, enhancing alcohol's effects, correct?
Yes.
So the two together could cause a person's respiratory to be suppressed, correct?
It could have a synergistic effect, yes.
Now, he also had diabetes, did he not?
Yes.
And he had hypertension, did he not?
Correct.
He had hepatitis, did he not?
Alcoholic hepatitis, yes.
So, and all of those conditions combined, those could contribute to the fact that asphyxiation comes on quicker, correct?
They could, yes.
In other words, you'd have less of a reserve of oxygen than a normal person, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So somebody could actually, to an observer, become asphyxiated quicker than what they were expecting, correct?
Certainly, yeah, absolutely.
Have you seen other bondage cases which resulted in death?
I can't recall. I don't think so.
Nothing further.
Any redirect? No, thank you. May this witness be excused?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you for your time. Sorry for the delay.
Still with us, former Deputy Public Defender Philip Dubé. Philip, I have to ask you this. Knowing that asphyxiation is the cause of death, homicide the manner, if in fact there was no consent, nothing in writing from this now deceased victim saying, please put the saran wrap, the bag over my head, does that mean there's a conviction? How do you get out of that on second degree when it can be a reckless disregard for human life?
Well, first of all, when you're engaging in fetishistic, kinky sex, it's not necessarily something that you articulate. You don't voice it to each other like, hey, do you want to put some shrink wrap over my head? Do you want to mummify me? And let's do some kinky sex play. No, you just do it. And as you're doing it, you can circumstantially infer the consent that this is sort of like the mutual assent, if you will, of both parties. And if I'm not mistaken, this is something that she did on a regular basis and then he paid to have done. This is sort of like a weird extracurricular activity on his part. I will say, to be fair to Michaela, though, that this is overfiled. Under California law, this should be nothing more than an involuntary manslaughter. And what that means is that it's an unintentional killing caused by criminal negligence. And the complete legal victory for her would be that this only carries 4 years. And I would be surprised that if the jury comes back on a second-degree reckless murder type implied malice theory, where you engage in a reckless act just in deliberate disregard for human life. And I don't think that's what happened here. I think instead she engaged in a criminally negligent act by not exercising due caution with complete circumspection. And that's ultimately what ended his life. But you can infer the consent by how they interacted and how they landed in bed together.
But Philip, here's the deal, and I think this is what might have led, I think it's probably what led to the second-degree murder charge. During the filming of this, her husband is watching. He asks her, is he still breathing? While she is performing for her OnlyFans page. It's not till she finishes performing that she realized something is wrong and calls 911. I think that little performance part is the part where they say reckless disregard. I got about 30 seconds, Philip.
Absolutely. If that comes into evidence and she is in deliberate disregard of human life, knowing good and well he can't breathe, under California law, that is a second-degree murder. Now, on the other hand, if it just truly rises to the level of criminal negligence, I mean, that she didn't exercise due care, she can get an invol, 4-year top.
All right. Thank you so much, Philip Dubé, as always, for joining us today.
All right, folks, we'll have more from the hearing for the fatal fetish murder case for Michaela Rylaarsdam coming up next. Keep it here on Court TV. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala.
And I'm Ashley Wilcott. We are bringing you coverage now of another big case that Court TV is tracking out of California, the fatal fetish murder case of Michaela Rylaarsdam. The OnlyFans model is accused of killing her client, 56-year-old Michael Dale, during a paid encounter in April of 2023.
Now, according to court documents, Dale paid Michaela $11,000 to wrap him up in plastic like a mummy, glue a pair of women's boots onto his feet, and get this, pour adhesive onto his eyes to seal them shut. An affidavit also revealed that Dale had duct tape over his mouth and a plastic bag over his head. Now, after Dale began experiencing medical issues, Michaela did call 911, and police found her performing CPR on him.
He was taken to the hospital where he later died of asphyxiation, according to the medical examiner. Michaela is in court now for a preliminary hearing. That means there's no jury at all. The judge is hearing this. We're bringing that preliminary hearing to you. So let's go back inside. Right now, the victim, Michael Dale's roommate, is testifying.
I want to turn your attention back to April 17th of 2023 regarding an incident where the police came to the house you were living at the time. Do you remember what I'm referring to?
Yes.
At that time, were you living at 685 Terrace Avenue, City of Escondido, County of San Diego?
Yes.
Can you describe for us, sir, is this a house, apartment, a condo?
It's a house.
Single story?
Single story. 5 bedroom, 2 bath.
Are we in a residential area?
Yeah, we're in a neighborhood.
Can you describe for us just briefly sort of the layout of the house? You walk in the front door.
You walk into the front door. To your right is the kitchen. You go a couple more feet and there's the hallway to the 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. And then there's, to your right, like I said, this kitchen, living room, another room, and then the corridor to the garage.
So back on April 17th of 2023, who was all living at this home?
At this time, me, there's a roommate named Helen, a roommate named Cindy, and we had another roommate, a male, gosh, I can't remember what his name was, and then Michael Dale.
Okay. So Michael, another male, you, and then
2 females.
2 females. Did everyone have their own room? Were there shared rooms?
Everybody had their own room.
Okay.
We had one shared bathroom between the 3, other than the master bedroom.
I want to talk to you now about Michael Dale. So this incident, we're talking about April 17th of 2023. About how long had Michael Dale been living there up to this incident?
He'd only been there about 5 days, maybe about a week.
Throughout the 5 days, maybe a week that he had been there, had you had many interactions with Mr. Dale?
No, I only talked to him about twice when I saw him in the kitchen. It was a, hey, how are you doing type of thing. I asked him if he needed anything because he had just moved in. But in those 5 days, I only basically saw him twice.
So Mr. Dale's bedroom, right? So you walk in the front door. How do you get to his bedroom?
You walk through the front door, you go a couple feet to the hallway, and then his room is all the way at the end of the hallway.
And where is that in relation to where your bedroom was at?
It's completely on the other side of the house. My bedroom's in the garage, so complete opposite sides of the house.
So I want to talk to you now about that day, April 17th of 2023. Do you remember seeing Mr. Dale that day?
That day he, like I said, I was in my garden and he opened his window or came out the slider door, I can't remember, and said that he was going to have a friend over from a certain time to a certain time. And then that was it for the day.
You said you were out in the garden?
Yeah.
Do you remember about what time of day it was, morning?
It was probably pretty early. I'd probably say about 10:30 or 11, maybe. I'm not too sure exactly what time that was.
That's okay. So the day goes on. Did you see Mr. Dale again?
I didn't see Mr. Dale again until the whole incident happened.
So you see him when you're out in the garden earlier. Do you remember what happened between the time where you're in your garden and the next time you saw him after the incident? Like, were you at the house?
I was at the house, but I suffer from chronic pain, and I'm a cancer survivor, so a lot of times if I do anything, I'll be down for hours. So after I saw him, I didn't see him again, like I said, until the incident. I pretty much was in my room up until that point. I did make dinner around 3:30 in the afternoon, but I didn't see anybody at that time. I rarely see the other roommates unless, they need something from me, or they're doing laundry, or they're in the kitchen with me or something, but
Okay.
that was the only time.
Can you describe for us how it was that you became aware of the incident?
I came in to get dessert, and I heard some commotion. I put my dessert back and then was proceeding back to my room to call my sister because I was like, what's going on? I got a text from one of the roommates saying all this noise.
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled, effect on listener. Next question.
So you mentioned the commotion. Could you tell from where the commotion was coming from?
Yeah, I could tell it was coming from Michael's room because there was only 3 of us home at the time. Helen, Michael, and me. All the other roommates were either at work or gone.
You also mentioned you texted your sister. How does your sister fit into this house?
My sister owns the house. She's basically the landlord.
Okay. And you texted your sister.
I called my sister, sorry.
Apologies. You called your sister. What was sort of the purpose of the phone call to your sister?
I was calling my sister because Michael had brought home a female, and stuff was going on that we don't really allow kind of in the house. We don't have overnight guests. We try to be respectful, but it sounded like, stuff was going on that shouldn't be going on. And I mean, to each his own, but you got roommates.
Could you be more specific? What was going on? What wasn't allowed in the house?
Well, the overnights, but he brought home, I don't know how you want me to say.
Just use your own words.
Prostitute hooker or whatever. And kind of go get a hotel for that. You move in 5 days and this is what's going on. I had gotten a text from the other roommate, which she said was all the noise was going on, and she was scared.
So other than you, Mr. Dale, and his guest, who else was home at this point in time?
Helen, the other roommate.
Your other roommate?
Yeah.
Is this the one you were texting with?
Yes, she had sent me the text telling me that all kinds of
Objection,
things.
hearsay.
Sustained.
So you're sensing this commotion coming from Mr. Dale's room. You mentioned you put your dessert away. What do you remember next?
I remember next was Helen coming out to the garage saying that.
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled, effect on listener. You can continue.
Coming out saying that the girl needed help. So I came into the house and walked towards Michael Dale's room with Helen and the girl. And that's when I saw Mr. Dale, and I said, we need to call 911. So one of the girls, I'm not too sure who dialed 911. We got the 911 operator on the phone, and we said that, you know, he wasn't breathing, so he was like, you guys start CPR. The girls looked at me to do it, but in my physical, I wouldn't have been able to do it. We would have had 2 ambulances coming. The girl started CPR. When I saw the situation, you know, the CPR was started, I went to the front door and opened it up for the ambulance or police officers that were going to be coming.
Okay. You're mentioning the girl. Are you talking about Helen or the female guest?
Oh, female guest, sorry.
That same female guest that you're describing, do you also see here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
For the record, can you please describe where she's seated and what color shirt she's wearing?
I think it was red or pink, and it was a...
I'm sorry, today. Where is she today?
Oh, sorry. She's sitting over there. She has a gray sweatshirt on.
The witnesses identified the defendant. Thank you. So, to back up a little bit, the commotion you hear, are you talking about noises, voices, music?
I heard noises and voices.
Could you tell whose voice it was?
Michael Dale. You want me to say what I heard?
Well, so let me ask you another question. You hear Michael Dale's voice. Could you describe for us, are you able to tell if he's calm, if he's panicked, if he's something else?
I couldn't really tell, you know, because like I said, the door is closed and I'm probably 30 feet, 25, 30 feet from his room. I could just hear him say, can we stop? I'll pay you a certain amount more money to stop. And that's when I realized that it wasn't a friend, it was a prostitute or whatever you want to say.
So you hear Mr. Dale say this comment. Are you in the kitchen at that point?
Basically in the kitchen.
And so after that, is that when you go back to the garage?
That's when I went back to the garage and called my sister and was trying to decide what we should do, call the police or, because like I said, Helen had texted me at that kind of same time-ish and was hearing noises and was frightened.
Where is Helen in the house when this is going on?
She was in her room, I do believe. Like I said, I wasn't in the house, so I'm not too sure, but I'm sure she was probably in her room because that would be her safest place.
So you were telling us before about how you leave the garage and you walk toward Mr. Dale's room, is
Yes.
that right? Did you actually go in and see what was going on in the room?
Yes, I went into Michael Dale's room and he was laying on the floor, not breathing, and that's when I was like, you know, we need to call 911. And like I said, I can't remember.
We need to squeeze in a break here. Up next, the roommate testifies about what he saw the defendant doing when the alleged victim was in distress. You don't want to miss it. Stay here with us on your front row seat to justice.
Matriarch of the Adelson family gets arrested.
This is terrible.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law, Dan Markel.
Prosecutors say a bitter child custody battle was the motive for the murder-for-hire plot.
Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
Now that the ship is really sinking fast, blood doesn't matter that much.
The Matriarch Mastermind Murder Trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
Before we get you back to court, here are a few other cases Court TV is tracking.
In Georgia, Mark Wright entered a guilty plea in the case involving the deaths of his niece and nephew. The children's bodies were found on the family's property in 2018. Wright pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and cruelty to children. As part of the plea agreement, the death penalty has been removed from consideration. Sentencing is scheduled for October. Bright faces from 10 to 80 years in prison.
In New York, accused serial killer Rex Heuermann was back in court for the continuation of a Fry hearing. Today, in a huge win for the prosecution, the judge allowed DNA evidence obtained through advanced techniques into the forthcoming murder trial of Long Island's suspected Gilgo Beach killer.
And in Wisconsin, a jury has been seated in the kiss and kill murder trial for Samantha Krebs. She's accused of stabbing her boyfriend to death and then kissing him before she fled the apartment. Opening statements just began. We'll be bringing you those as soon as we have made it past the court-ordered delay in airing the trial. All right, we do want to head back to California now for more of the preliminary hearing in the fatal fetish murder case of Michaela Rylaarsdam. The roommate of the alleged victim is still testifying.
Helen or what's her name? Michaela. I'm sorry, Michaela. I don't know which one called 911, but once we got them on and they were, given directions for CPR, Michaela started CPR.
You mentioned Mr. Dale was on the ground. Can you tell us, is he laying on his back, on his side?
He was on his back.
What do you remember about his clothing?
He had no shirt on. It looked to be like a pair of sweats. And then from his feet to about his waist was wrapped in saran wrap.
Like clear plastic wrap?
Yeah. And then his hands were above his head, and they were tied up. I can't remember if it was rope or tape.
And to be clear, the witness put his hands above his head, put one hand over the other, as if hands and arms were being suspended over the body. Continue.
And then he was laying there, and that was...
When you saw Mr. Dale in this state, could you tell something was wrong?
Yes. I kind of looked at his eyes and kind of noticed that he wasn't breathing, and that's when I was like, call 911.
All right, so 911's called. Did you stick around and wait for police arrival?
I went out into the kitchen, opened up the front door, kind of hanged out for a second. Well, before that, I took the animals, had a cat in the house, dogs outside, put them all together, then opened up the door and waited for the first arrival of, I think it was a police officer got there first. And then I walked him back to the bedroom. I don't know if he started to take over the CPR or not. I'm not too sure because I kind of stayed in the living room at that point.
You mentioned, taking a step back, you mentioned his hands sort of above his head, tied together. How about his face or his head? Was there anything covering his face or head when you saw him?
No, not that I recall. I kind of like went in quick, kind of saw him laying there, looked and saw that he wasn't breathing and his eyes kind of looked weird, and that's when I was just like, let's call 911.
If I may have just one moment, Your Honor. Yeah, take your time. Thank you, sir. I have no further questions.
Mr. Cohn, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So your sister owns the house?
Yeah.
And your bedroom is on the other side of the house?
Yes.
So while you were in your bedroom, you couldn't really hear what was going on?
No.
You didn't know Mr. Dale that well, correct?
No, not at all.
He had a kind of a loud, boisterous voice, though, correct?
He was kind of blustery. Yeah. I mean, I don't know really how I can explain that, but like really kind of deepish, kind of loudish voice, but not like super loud, but more so versus how long you've been talking.
Okay. Now, at some point you go into the kitchen.
Here with us now to discuss, criminal defense attorney Silva Megardician. And Silva, thank you for joining both of us. We always appreciate you coming on. This is one of those cases that the details and the facts are just so sordid that you think when it gets to a jury, because I think it's going to get past the preliminary hearing phase, and if this case goes before a jury, some are going to be very uncomfortable, no matter what they say during voir dire, listening to the details of the alleged consensual act that the two were engaging in.
Absolutely. First, Judge Ashley and Michael, you know, I adore you both. You are the dream team. Thank you for having me. Look, it's California, and these fetish cases they're so soap opera-y, dramatic, and dirty, you know, as we saw like in the P. Diddy case. But I think all of that is secondary to how violent it is when you ignore that someone is struggling. And I think that's the biggest thing that a jury is really going to have to separate in their mind. The fact that this guy had some, you know, abnormal fetishes, or I don't want to say abnormal because fetishes themselves are fetishes, right? But the fact that he was a man who trusted this woman to do this, but also entrusted her not to kill him. That is indisputable in this case, that the purpose was a sexual fetish fantasy, not to be killed or ignored if he was struggling. And think about it, saran wrap around the head and then tape around that. And according to initial reports, I think he was there for about 8 minutes without air. Any reasonable person has to be responsible and make sure that he's not dying. So yeah, just an awful case. But I think the juries are very smart, and lawyers at du voir dire understand. Focus on the facts, focus on the evidence, and not the gore of what they're going to hear.
Yeah, and you know, quickly here, Silva, it requires an implied malice and a reckless disregard for life. I agree 100% with what you're saying. There's some responsibility here, but we're talking about second-degree murder. I'm not sure you get the implied malice. Now, they might get it from the fact that she was actually filming herself. This death might have occurred on camera, but at the end of the day, do you think they have enough here to get to that level?
I actually do. Look, there's no deliberation in a second-degree murder, but the implied malice, I still say, if you are covering someone's face in saran wrap, on top of that tape, ignore them for more than 6 minutes while you're filming another sex act. I actually think the prosecutors have a really strong case here. And the fact that she was filming everything. So when the officers took her phone, there are firsthand witnesses to what happened to this man struggling. I think the craziness of the ignoring, that's going to propel this case.
And I think they just haven't offered her a good enough deal for her to take, because I think they must know the writing's on the wall.
Fair enough. And somebody else, her husband, was watching the video, even asked her, is he still breathing? So even he, from the other side of the video, knew something was going on here.
Yeah.
All right, Silva, stand by. We do need to take a break. When we come back, the roommate going to wrap up his testimony in the preliminary hearing in the fatal fetish murder case in California.
And the judge loses patience with accused murderer Donna Adelson and her defense team about whether or not she will testify.
But ultimately, you must choose whether you will testify or not.
I don't have to choose. I was hoping I would have some time to speak to my attorney.
This has already been discussed, ma'am. What is your choice?
The next...
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott.
And I'm Michael Ayala. We'll get back to court in just a moment, but first, day 8 of testimony has wrapped up in the matriarch mastermind murder trial of Donna Adelson. It ended with the defendant saying that she will not testify.
Adelson faces a possible life sentence if convicted of plotting to kill her ex-son-in-law, FSU law professor Dan Markell, back in 2014. Court TV anchor Julia Janae was in court for all of today's testimony. She's here now with a debrief.
That's right.
right, Judge Ashley and Michael, good to be with you. Today was a day full of confusion and colloquies, but now we are marching toward those closing arguments. They wrapped up the day with a charge conference, getting those jury instructions in line. But here's the moment we were all leaning into, whether or not Donna Adelson would be testifying. And it wasn't something that came in quick fashion. Here she is first after the lunch break today, not really knowing, and then after getting another break from the judge, she finally made her decision.
Concerning those rights as to whether you will remain silent or whether you will testify, have you made a decision concerning this matter?
I haven't. I'm not prepared to make that decision. This decision affects the rest of my life.
Mrs. Adelson, you're in the same position as every other criminal defendant who faces trial. Ultimately, you must decide whether you will testify or whether you will not. I cannot make you testify. Your attorneys cannot make you testify. But ultimately, you must choose whether you will testify or not.
I don't have to choose. I was hoping I would have some time to speak to my attorneys.
This has already been discussed, ma'am. What is your choice? Mrs. Adelson, the question remains, as it relates to your right to remain silent and your right to testify, what is your decision concerning these two rights?
This time I don't want to testify.
Even there, when she finally made that decision, it seemed to be a struggle, perhaps some conflict inside about making the final determination that she's not going to be taking the stand in her own defense the way her son Charlie did 2 years ago. Now, what was the day like today? It was full of testimony about the custody battle between Dan Markel, the victim in this case, and Wendy Adelson, the daughter of the defendant. And the defense's position is this wasn't bitter, it was more basic. They brought in Wendy Adelson's attorney who testified as to how things went, and also this marital law and family law expert, board certified here in Florida, to explain to this jury what is typical for a custody battle, and said that really this was run of the mill. Here she is talking about the reaction to the relocation order.
The June 21st hearing when relocation was denied. Did my client, in the emails you review, appear to push back on Wendy and try to get her to do certain things?
Donna Adelson, maybe the reality of the relocation had set in, the denial, and she was upset. So she was sending emails going like, how can we undo this? Is it possible to undo this? And then Wendy responded, I think at the end of that, Mom, I'm at peace, I'm good. And then they dropped off. There was no more communication.
Again, emphasizing this idea that this was not an issue that would have risen to the level of plotting with her son to kill Dan Markel. Now, Charlie Adelson, we did not see in this trial, though his testimony was referenced and talked about in front of this jury. Also didn't see that dramatic airport arrest video that we've shown you here on Court TV, but these jurors didn't see it, but they heard a lot about the Vietnam trip, the one-way ticket that the defense said she purchased that way to save money, not to flee the country. Of course, we're going to hear very differing opinions about that once we hear those closing arguments tomorrow. And what I'll be paying attention to is how the defense wraps this up and how much they are going to lean into playing or pointing the finger rather at the children of Donna Adelson as the ones who are the true villains here. Michael, Ashley?
Yeah, unfortunate position for a mom to be in. Julia Janae, thank you so much for that report. I want to get you back to California now with more testimony in the preliminary hearing for accused murderer and OnlyFans model Michaela Rylaarsdam.
She's accused of killing one of her clients during a paid encounter. The roommate of the alleged victim is on the stand still under cross-examination by the defense.
And you're making yourself fluid, correct?
I was gonna get some ice cream out of the freezer.
Okay. Getting some ice cream, and that's when you heard something that kind of alerted you and kind of set your radar off. Right?
Yeah, that set my radar off, put the ice cream back, and that's when I went out to call my...
Now, you heard something about stopping, and you heard something about money. Fair statement?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that you really didn't hear exactly what exactly, but it just kind of caught your attention?
It caught my attention that money was involved, and that's when I knew that it wasn't like a normal friend.
Okay, so it was the money that really kind of caught your attention?
Yeah.
It wasn't...
Well, that and, well, it was, we'll stop. Can we stop? Or can we stop? I'll pay you X amount of money. That whole sentence caught my attention.
Now, he's in the door, he's in his room, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Dale's in his room, correct?
Yeah.
The door is closed, correct?
Yes.
They were playing music in there, correct? Did you hear music in there?
Not that I recall. I kind of heard some noises, and then Michael Dale's voice. So I don't, it could have been TV or music or whatnot, but
And when you called your sister, you were concerned about the fact that there might be some acts of prostitution going on there, correct?
Yes.
At least at that point, you weren't concerned for Mr. Dale's safety, correct?
No, I was more concerned for the roommate Helen, because she was, like I said, she had texted me and was frightened.
And she had the room next door to Mr. Dale?
Yes.
Correct?
They have a wall that connects their two rooms.
Now, you didn't see Michaela arrive with Mr. Dale at the residence?
No, I did not.
Did you tell Detective Hand, or Officer Hand, on May 11th, 2003, that you saw them arrive together?
No, I did not.
Now, Michaela, she didn't try and leave, correct? She didn't try and run.
No.
In fact, she gave CPR to Mr. Dale.
Yeah, she started the CPR, and like I said, I don't know if I think the cop took over when he arrived. I'm not too sure. And then the ambulance and a couple more cops, and they had Michaela come outside and pretty much stand there outside. They asked me, I brought her blanket.
Well, let me ask you this. Michaela, at the time, she seemed to be concerned about Mr. Dale, correct?
Yes.
She was upset about what was happening, correct?
Yes.
And
So concerned because she came out asking for help from Helen, and then Helen asked me, and that's when I came in.
So she came out, she said, he needs help, call 911 or something to that effect.
I'm not too sure. I wasn't in that, because this is what she said to Helen. Helen came to me, we need help. That's when I came in the house. And we all proceeded to the bedroom.
And Michaela, she waited around until the police got there as well, correct?
Yes, she never left. Like I said, the only time I think that she had come out of the bedroom, because I think the first police officer took over CPR from her, and then the other cop had her, I think he had her go out front. I think she was pretty much out front from after the second police officer, I do believe, got there.
Thank you. Now, when the officers arrived on scene, you talked with them briefly when they came, correct?
Real briefly, they kind of like, where, and I'm like, showed them where to go.
Did you tell them a little bit about what happened?
No, I didn't talk to anybody about what happened until the detectives got there, I do believe.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Any redirect?
No, thank you.
Sir, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next witness.
We need to take a break here. Up next, we hear from one of the first officers who responded to the scene. Keep it here on Court TV Live.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, diving deeper into today's defense case, testimony in the trial of Donna Adelson. Catch up on everything you may have missed as our experts weigh in.
closing arguments with Vinnie Politan tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV. Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
When you
Let's head back to court now, where an officer who responded to the scene is now on the stand.
At around 10:11 p.m., did you get a call for service at 685 Terrace Avenue, City of Escondido, County of San Diego?
I did, sir.
Did you respond?
Yes, sir.
Were you the first one there?
I was.
At what time did you arrive at the residence?
I believe it was approximately 5 minutes after the initial call for service.
Around 10:16?
Yes, sir.
So, walk us through what happened. You roll up on scene. What happens next?
When I exited my patrol car, there was 2 people standing outside of the residence who were, they were residents at that home. They stated there was a male inside the residence that needed medical assistance. I walked inside. There's a long hallway to the left. The male's room was at the end of that hallway. I walk inside. I see a male laying on his back and a female providing CPR.
The female providing CPR, do you see that same female here in court today?
She was at the table to my right, wearing a gray top.
Witnesses identified the defendant.
You mentioned the male laying down. Can you describe for us what you remember about his appearance?
Sure. So he appeared to be unconscious. He was lying on his back. He didn't have a shirt on. His arms were above his head, bound like this. It appeared to be like some sort of tape and rope around his wrists. He was wearing red pants and had both of his legs bound together by a clear plastic wrap. And he was also wearing some black boots.
And once again, he said like this, and he put both hands over his head with his wrists together. Next question.
When you arrived on scene and went back to the bedroom, was your body cam rolling?
Yes, sir.
Permission to approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
And for the record, I'm approaching with People's 1 and the accompanying transcript. This is one of the videos we discussed earlier. Okay. For the record, I've provided copies of transcripts to both counsel and the court. So I'm going to push play. I want you to watch the video and let me know if you recognize it, okay? Sure.
Down the hall. Is there anybody else in the house? Yeah, I don't think it says all the way because is he breathing? Are his feet tight? Head back over there. Head back over there. Can we take her phone down? 911, can we take the one phone away?
Yes. Yeah, are the police there with you?
Yeah, he's here.
Okay, I'll let you know.
I'm a mother, a wife, no, we're about to start do anything like this. If you can just wait outside, please.